Welcome to Horror Melee,
a podcast born of a group of people who love to talk and debate horror.
Every episode, one of us picks a movie to review, and the rest of us must either suffer or enjoy that pick.
Turn your brain off and enjoy.
Welcome to Horror Melee. I am your host, Steph. On this episode, we have Patrick.
Hey.
And Holly.
Hello.
And we're going to discuss the 1991 movie Popcorn.
Before the horror of Halloween. Before the fear of Friday the 13th. Before the evil of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Before them all, there was... Now, 15 years later, he's back. Oh, yes.
There's something happening here that I've been looking for all of my life. There's smoke. Someone takes her hand. She's running. The same man comes towards her. I remember the whole thing. Stop!
Are you ready? Popcorn. Buy a bag. Go home in a box.
I am so upset that I've never heard of this movie until right now.
Me too.
Guys, don't feel bad. My fellow horror fanatic friend, Kelly and Emily, bought me a t-shirt that has popcorn on it and an enamel pin that is the shot clock.
Oh, nice.
Literally received these as a birthday gift, and I never thought of, I'm gonna Google this and see what it is. Not until like last week when I was looking at what movie to pick, and then I saw Popcorn in a list of movies, and I was like, wait, this is an actual movie? This is a thing? And then I watched it, and I thought to myself, How is this not more relevant in the horror community?
I think it's probably pretty relevant in the horror community, but just not known to us.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie did come out 20 days before I was born, so I guess I have a little bit of an excuse.
Why are you not up on this? Come on.
Yeah. Mom, I'm so mad you didn't show this to me when I was an infant.
As she's in labor.
Put popcorn on! Put popcorn on!
I think I remember seeing this VHS in a movie store because that cover art looks very familiar, but I've just never seen it. I don't think I've heard the title. Sounds vaguely familiar, but not enough to spark anything. So I really wish I would have known about this sooner because I kind of fell in love with it.
Yeah, it's also known as Phantom of the Cinema.
I'm gonna say that is a better name than Popcorn.
But I love that it's called Popcorn because it's all about movies.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you know
that too. But Phantom of the Cinema is so ominous, and
it is. But yeah, I think because. And this can be, considered a popcorn movie where it's just, you're just having fun. Phantom of the, what was it? Phantom of the Theater?
Phantom of the Cinema.
That sounds really cool, but popcorn
and a little poshy.
Yeah.
Going to the cinema.
No wonder why I couldn't remember it.
So Popcorn was directed by Mark Harrier, and the films within the film were directed by Alan Ormsby. Screenplay by Todd Hackett from a story by Mitchell Smith. Uncredited producer is Bob Clark, and we all know Bob Clark from Black Christmas, A Christmas Story, and Porky's, which Mark Harrier came from Porky's. It stars Jill Schoelen, Dee Wallace, Kelly Jo Minter, Tom Villard, Derek Rydell, Freddie Simpson, Tony Roberts, and everyone's favorite curmudgeon character and everything, Ray Walston. The opening weekend, it made $2.5 million and grossed about $4.2 million. I don't know the budget on this. I couldn't find it, but I don't know. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't imagine the budget was like more than $1 million on this.
Yeah.
There's some really cool effects, but at the same time, I can't see it being more than $1 million.
Yeah. And the film was filmed in Kingston, Jamaica.
Oh.
Yeah, so if anybody's
That
wondering,
explains the band.
what's all the,
Right?
right? What's up with all this reggae music? Oh, it was filmed in Jamaica.
The music was probably my favorite part of the movie, because it didn't go with the movie at all, but it worked so well at the same time.
It did.
Yes. Like, a lot of reviewers didn't like it. Some reviewers really liked it. It has like an okay rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but I really liked watching it. It was fun. It screamed Scream to me. And like, I really wanted to check in with Holly and be like, Holly.
I know exactly where you're going.
Yeah. Okay.
As I was watching it, well, it gave me like a Goosebumps feel, kind of. It was like, it seemed like really innocent and sweet and like, ooh, it's like kind of creepy. You're going to creepy theater. But then once they got going, like with the movies in the theater, I was like, oh, this is my Saturday night every month. This is exactly the atmosphere that we have when we do Rocky Horror. It's,
amazing.
Everybody is like dressing up in costume, like audience and people who are doing the event. The theater kind of reminded me of the Music Box where we perform. Like them selling all the prop things and then the audience like yelling stuff and throwing stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is Rocky. It's amazing.
Watching this party happen in the movie theater. I work in a movie theater that does movie parties, and they don't even come close to
so
that.
I was gonna ask you, Patrick. I'm like, I bet the Alamo, this is what they try to do with their movie parties, but the Alamo, I mean, they're like, don't text, or we're gonna kick you out. So I think it's hard. Like, I've gone to a few movie parties, and I'm like, ooh, I need to like be a good like angel and not do anything. But it's like, but I'm sure the Alamo is like, no, like, get rowdy.
Yeah, so the movie parties, they expect you to get rowdy, and you can talk, and you can't have your phone out, because people who bring their phone out in movies, fuck you. But you can talk, as long as you're not, like, looking over the person next to you and, like, having a random conversation about the movie. But if you're quoting the movie and, like, yelling during your favorite scenes, that's what, like, they want to happen. But they don't portray it enough. Like, they don't tell you to do these things. They're just like, here's some props and here's a list of when you should use the props. It's not like, here are the props, have a fucking great time. I mean, that whole party scene reminded me of, I think it's Scream 2.
Yeah.
Where they're in the movie theater.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. And I was like, I want to go to a movie screening like this so bad.
Okay, come visit me in Chicago on a Rocky weekend. Because, I'm usually the person who heads up selling the kits to the people in line. And I tell them, I'm like, when else are you going to be able to throw all of this stuff in a movie theater? Just have fun.
But Holly, like, and Patrick, like, did you feel or did you find that this movie was so similar to Scream?
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that, because literally as soon as they enter the movie theater, it's exactly what I thought about, because it brought up Scream 2, and then it kind of brought up the, like, this, Ghostface is not a ghost, but this ghost of a man that's killing people, and then you find out he's wearing people's, faces, and like he's wearing these masks, and he's this masked killer. I don't know. It's so different from Scream, yet so similar to it for me.
Yeah, it had a very heavy kind of whodunit. You think you know where it's going, and then it's like, ooh, but hey, this happens, and
it's pig's blood.
Yeah. And in the bathroom too, when what's his face? The guy who is the
Leon.
Yeah. Yeah,
yes!
In the bathroom. And I was thinking of Scream 2 for that. And then also just, the stuff happening on stage. And then everybody's, into it. They think it's part of the show. So I was thinking about Scream a lot.
So this film definitely falls into the postmodernist films that are self-reflective.
Yeah.
Like having the 3 films within the film.
It's funny you say that about the 3 films within the film, because it also, one thing that I truly liked about this movie was being a fan of movies. This is a movie for movie fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like the little remarks from them being in the classroom to showing the 3 specials, right? It just, it brought up a lot of my own high school experiences and just kind of got me going about that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when they were in their class, I was like, and then talking about how they don't really matter to the school and they're a novelty, and that's how it feels when you're in theater.
Yeah.
It's like the people who aren't theater kids, they'll join when they can showcase their own talent and get stage time. They're not trying to be part of the group and part of the experience for people.
So in high school, myself and 2 other people started the school's very first film club that we would meet every Wednesday, pick a film of the week, watch it, and then talk about it in high school. That's what we did. It was for my junior and senior year, and they're still doing it to this day, which is awesome that I could be like started that. But we had to do it into the perspective of like they would only let us be a club if we did like talk about movies like Citizen Kane and like all these like movies people write essays on. So we were kind of restricted at the same time, where their films class just seemed to be like, we're gonna fuck around and have a ton of fun.
Well, and to be clear, like, they apparently were attending the University of California. Oh. So these are like film students. These aren't high school cats.
That did not come across very well in the film then.
I think the only reason why I remembered that was because I saw the university sign, and the thing that caught my eye was Ocean View, and it just made me think of Follow That Bird. I'm like, Ocean View, Illinois. Yeah, big bird.
Yeah, which again, I mean, if they're in college or university and yet they don't have proper facilities, like what kind of shitty film class is this?
Yeah, I was going to say, because especially, we're in California in the 90s in a college for film where film is literally the biggest export you have.
Yeah.
It's probably not that bad of a film study class.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, they're comparing, I love how they dropped Police Academy 5 in the same breath as Ingmar Bergman.
Yes, I laughed. That was probably the hardest part I laughed in the movie besides the guy getting peed on. I mean, wow. What 2 complete opposite things just to be like, oh, we're going to compare them.
These are the future writers and directors of the American cinema.
It's the Police Academy syndrome.
Hey! There's more social relevance and character development in Police Academy 5 than in all of Ingmar Bergman's cinematic smorgasbords.
Bergman's fleshy ambiguities, as one critic said of them.
I believe he did say that.
Yes, he did. Show me how would you know your favorite film is Escape from Witch Mountain?
You have these film students, and they're throwing a movie marathon to fundraise their film class, which again, I'm like, maybe they aren't in college. Maybe this is like a side high school situation that happens to take place at a college campus. I don't know. And then you have the killer who was a victim from another person's film. There's so much movies.
Yeah.
It's so funny because they're doing the fundraiser to raise money for their film class, and there might be a little extra left over to fund a student film. Very cool. The production value that went into making those 3 movies happen must have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're talking flying mosquitoes, electrical seats, smell-o-rama, tons of props. The Monopoly Man just came out of nowhere at one point.
Okay, so I was watching this with Alan, sort of. He was kind of watching the beginning. And when they got to the theater, and they're like, all right, yeah, we have, what was it, 3 weeks to get this going? And Alan was like, there would be so much more disrepair that they need to take care of. Like, how this would be wrong. He's like, they need electrical work done. They would probably need to fix the seats. He's like going on and on and on about these things that they need to fix. I'm like, really? That's the most unbelievable thing in this movie.
So I blew, like, I'm with Alan on this. Like, as soon as I started doing this, I was like, oh, this can't happen in that short amount of time. And then the montage happened. I was like, it's a montage. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I loved it.
The
that
reggae
song
montage
playing was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good.
I have that in my notes in big capital letters. I'm like, cleaning montage.
Okay. This film stars Maggie, who, upon the first scene, we learn she's having these vivid dreams about a man, a fire, a young girl, and she's inspired to create a film about it. And she has a voice recorder where she records all her thoughts in. So her mom, as we're made to think, is played by Dee Wallace, her mom, Suzanne. So then we see Maggie go to her college campus, whether it's university class or high school extracurricular class, TBD. She runs into Mark.
Heartthrob Mark.
Right? Goofy, accident-prone Mark.
It took a tally. He got hit in the face 5 times.
It's so funny. In the beginning, they make him almost like jock-like, and then throughout the movie, he's just Goofy Mark.
I want you, Maggie, right
Mark,
now.
I can't.
Come on, let's go back to my place. I'm dying without you.
Mark, this is the age of safe sex, and sex with you on any level is not safe.
Come on, Maggie, why won't you give us a chance? Huh? I'm crazy about you, but I'm not gonna let you shine me on forever.
I'm not. I'm just concentrating on my script right now.
Yeah, right, the script.
Come on. This is really important to me. I just can't let anything distract me.
Okay, I see. I just hope that I'm still around when you decide to get distracted.
Give me a break.
I like that scene because she's like, I can't have any distractions. I got to focus on my script. And when she says like, it's a time of safe sex and sex isn't safe with you,
Mm-hmm.
But she's also like being cute about it. But I'm like, way to be, have your standards.
I would have said the same thing to Mark.
Was anybody rooting for Mark?
Not till the end of the movie.
I had my moment came when he fell down the stairs. And it was like dark, and then you just hear the dialogue, and he's like, "Don't step on," and then
my hand.
Like, oh, poor little thing. I'm really rooting for you now.
That's probably when I started rooting for him as well, because I mean, before then I was just like, oh, this is just some jock trying to get with like their nerdy film girl, and I was like, he's just get out of here. But then he redeems himself through the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So after they have a conversation to have this film festival, they get all these amazing props from Dr. M, played by Ray Walston. And I love when he like rolls in and he's like, all of my cases are in the car. Go get them. I'll be center stage, which is where I belong.
Man, I was totally buying what he was selling. When he started talking, like, this is how you bullshit them. You sell bullshit. I was like, yes.
Yes.
That's what started that, like, oh, this is what I do at Rocky. Because one of my favorite things is to tell people that they're going to be really, really sad later when they don't have a glow stick and everybody else does. Like, do you really want to be without a glow stick? Because you're going to be sad.
And if you are listening to this and you do go see Rocky and you live in Chicago, just know this is not bullshitting you. You will be very sad without a glow stick.
It's very true because that's like the best part of the audience participation. It's a fact.
The glow sticks are only $19.99 and you can buy one of them for $20.
Yeah, no, I loved his speech about getting the butts in the seat, giving them gimmicks and having a fun time at the theaters, not going to like a megaplex with a screen the size of a postage stamp.
I love how he was like a mixture between the Monopoly Man and the old man from Six Flags commercials. That's all I could think of when I saw him. He's as energetic as that old man from Six Flags, but then he looks like the Monopoly guy.
Yeah, the old man from Six Flags would definitely roll up in a bus with cases of shenanigans and props.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tons of LSD for the children.
Did either of you, I know Patrick, since you're a baby, but did either of you see the Goosebumps series?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I loved that as a kid.
Okay, good. Stephanie, have you seen it?
Yeah.
I used to watch it every Halloween.
Good job.
Even when I was 19, I still watched it every Halloween.
I still watch it. But he reminded me of the guy from The Haunted Mask.
Oh, that's one of my favorite episodes.
It is, and I love that book. Yeah,
when
but
she puts
it's
the mask on.
Yeah, it's like it had that.
She's just like,
I was thinking about that throughout the whole thing too, because it just some of the ways that it was shot. I was saying earlier, I was like, oh, it reminds me of like watching an episode, and then as this movie continued, like with that guy, Dr. M. And then the whole thing with the mask later, I was like, oh, this reminds me of The Haunted Mask. And then there is a book. It was Phantom of the Auditorium. And yeah, it's just, a lot of nostalgia with this movie.
Oh, totally. And some people like describe the movie as 80s style stalk and slay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And because it was filmed in, in like the 90s, but in the very early 90s, like 91.
Mm-hmm.
And I have like a special, I between the years of 88 and 92, pretty much anything that came out is like an automatic win for me.
Yeah.
Because that's in the lull of we want to be different from the old, but we want to set up this new type of thing going into this new, era of movies, which it always happens in like the last 3 or 2 years of that one, and then carries over to the first two, and then usually gets fucked up by, big blockbusters. But
I was thinking about Death Becomes Her because that came out just a year later in 92. Mm-hmm. And I was just, granted, watching this on YouTube and it wasn't great quality, but just looking at the production value of Death Becomes Her versus this, which came out just a year earlier, I was thinking this has a very 80s feel to it, just like its production and the way it's set up, and I was really digging it.
One thing that both those movies had, I'm glad you kind of brought Death Becomes Her up, because I felt one thing that both of them had was they had this air of just like carefreeness to them. Like they didn't they were just having fun. Even though it's a horror movie and people are dying, it's still just like this big fun party. I don't know. The deaths you took serious because people are dying, but at the same time I'm like, this is so fun to watch. Like, I would love to be part of this movie.
Yeah.
It has a very genuine feel to it. They used a lot of classic themes and gimmicks, but it felt very genuine. They weren't trying to do something or copy something from someone else, even though they brought in it's an homage to like 50s and 60s. It was very genuine and original feeling.
That's interesting that you use the word gimmick, because that is what they're talking about in the movie. It's like we're selling a gimmick, and that's like what we're watching, and it's like like adding that other layer to it. But and yeah, like you said, it feels genuine. It's like this is part of the fun. We're making it gimmicky because we know that this is what you want, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and it's almost like the three movies. You have Mosquito.
I loved it.
The Amazing Electrified Man.
It's so funny.
And The Stench. I mean, oh gosh, I feel like we could do a separate episode just on these three movies.
I agree.
The little that you saw of those three movies were done so well. And the writing, like the Mosquito, all those lines.
It's so funny. Another reason I'm such a huge fan of creature features was I used to have a really good friend who was really into just any type of movie. And we used to watch those old, like, 1950s kind of creature features and almost do a Mystery Science Theater 3000 where we just kind of turn it down and just, like, make up all this funny stuff about it. So seeing just, like, this, fake movie, The Mosquito, I was like, this movie understands me.
Yeah.
Even though it's...
Yeah, and oh man, I really wanted at the end of The Mosquito when he gives his little thumb, or was it like an okay or thumbs up, and he winks, I wanted it to say buy war bonds at the end.
This is why I want to watch like a better quality of this, because I feel like
Agreed.
I'll be able to appreciate it and I'll be drawn in that much more.
Absolutely.
Because it sounds like the three of us watched the one version on YouTube and it's really not that good quality.
Yeah, the 1960 version.
I tend to lose focus because I can't see what's going on.
Just for everyone out there, the quality was 240 pixels on YouTube, which is absolutely terrible.
If you watch it without contacts on your phone, it looks perfectly fine.
We're going a little all over the map, but...
When don't we do that on this show?
I know, right? So, I mean, one of my questions was... Would you guys pay money to go have an experience like that? And I'm sure the resounding answer is yeah, duh.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they thought of this idea, it was kind of like, yeah, this is gonna make money.
Hold on. First off, everyone going to those movies had movie-style production costumes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say too. Like everybody came up in costume, and the guy who had the two heads. And then, like, his second head, like, puked.
Yeah.
That is Alan Ormsby's son, Ethan Ormsby, who was a special effects artist.
Oh, nice.
Oh. That explains the costume.
No, but the music box where we do Rocky Horror, every year they do a horror movie marathon. It's 24 hours. And
Amazing.
It's so much fun. Alan and I did it one time. We did the full 24 hours. We took a break to go sleep in his car because at the time the car that he had, his seats reclined. And in the theater, you're just like, gotta get comfortable however you can. But our cast worked a couple of the events too, and it's just so much fun. People love it, and they have vendors in there, and it's such a lucrative thing to do.
That's one thing I love about horror movies is what other type of genre does this?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to sit through a 24-hour romantic comedy or like a drama or...
Oh my god, a drama would be so exhausting.
It would, yeah.
Yeah, the horror movies are fun, and I mean, I work in a movie theater, and I'm going to say it right now. The horror movie crowd that we get in our theaters are cheap and don't like to tip and are very rowdy and demanding. But I feel the people that go to these type of events are more... They're not that typical crowd. They really do love the genre, and they really do love film. And, God, I know Dallas doesn't do anything like that, but I hope one day it does.
Well, I know that the Alamo in Dallas, one of them did a Friday the 13th marathon on a Friday the 13th, and I tried really hard to get my friend to go, but God forbid people like skip work to go do a Friday the 13th marathon.
Lame.
Yeah. So as they're setting up for the movie marathon, going through all the beautiful cases of props and gimmicks, they come across a film called The Possessor.
Dun, dun, dun.
What a name.
They watch this psychedelic film, not understanding what the heck is going on. And our protagonist, Maggie, is drawn in because it's showing scenes similar to her dreams. We find out that their film teacher, Mr. Davis, I love how
drop acid.
Yep, used to drop acid, was part of this film cult apparently.
Who's hooking up with this student?
Yeah, Tina. So Mr. Davis tells his students about Lanyard Gates. I mean, what kind of name is Lanyard?
Right?
So Lanyard Gates had a film cult where they would drop acid and take movies of each other, picking their noses and doing really close-up shots of their eyeballs and such.
So 3 of my favorite things. Where's my film cult?
But he made one film and everybody laughed about it and he was a joke. So he's like, I'm going to do another film. And the last scene was going to be him murdering his family on stage. As the story goes, he kills his wife and his wife's sister shoots him and then burns down the theater and all of his film cult followers. Maggie's mom, Suzanne, played by Dee Wallace, ultimately goes to the movie theater before this festival because she received some threatening phone calls with a creepy voice talking about the 9th dimension of hell or something. And
Before you continue, if I ever received a call and someone said, the 9th dimension of hells have been opened, I'd be like, oh, awesome. Let's continue talking. I would not hang up the phone. Usually someone calls me like, is Maria there? No.
So obviously we learned that, she was involved in whatever happened. The first time I watched this, I was like, oh, this is going to be something supernatural because she rolls into the theater and the letters are flying off the marquee and all of a sudden the possession appears and a ticket pops out and the door opens.
I mean, the production value this guy went through to make it look like a ghost and supernatural is impressive.
Yeah. So Suzanne walks in and thinks that Lanyard Gates is back. And he's going to play his final film, The Possessor, and kill Maggie because Maggie is Sarah, the little girl that Maggie's been dreaming about is herself. And that whole scene as she's creeping through, hearing noises, and there's shadow play, and she shoots a figure that's walking towards her. Then all of a sudden these arms come out behind her and grab her, and then it ends with a green blue light kind of blinking on a creepy looking prop, let's say. That whole scene screamed Bava to me, and it really reminded me of Blood and Black Lace, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, there's so much references to classic movies in here, and I love that they did a little Italian giallo situation.
Yes. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Right from the beginning of this movie, this is a movie made by a film lover for film lovers. And I think a lot of that inspiration just, bleeds through into this film. Purposely and not on purpose. I think that was more purpose, but I loved that whole entire scene. I just really love this movie.
And even before the mom goes to the theater, she's like, Maggie, let's get away. I'll go down and get tickets from the agency and we'll take a trip. And Maggie's like, I can't run away from this. And I love her when she says, I can't run away from something that's inside of my head. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my God, yes. Because I find, and not to like open up this Pandora's box, that a lot of horror is like dealing with trauma, you know?
Absolutely.
And I find that a lot of people love watching horror movies because there is so much trauma in life that's really hard to deal with. It's like, I just want to see some people stab people and I'm going to feel better.
Oh, I totally do that on days when
you stab people on days, huh?
You know, as one does. But, you know, like, especially before I had kids, it was like, you know what? Today's a really shitty day. I don't feel like doing anything. I feel really shitty. I'm just going to like hunker down, get in a little blanket fort and watch some horror movies because I obviously don't have it as bad as they do. And it makes me feel a little better.
Right? But what's also amazing is you have these final girls who are like, I can't run away from this. I have to fight it. And they fucking fight it. And they like most of the time prevail. You know, it's very also inspiring at the same time.
Absolutely.
So I loved Cheryl's character, played by Kelly Jo Minter. You may know her from People Under the Stairs, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, even The Lost Boys. She is just hustling t-shirts, popcorn, you know. That's like me if I'm like in an expo booth. I am like, yo, you know, you want to come over? You want to buy some of this? Like, oh man, look at the stuff we got. Like,
upsell.
Yeah. That actress too. She was also in Mask, not The Mask, but Mask. I like her in anything that she's in. Just there's just something about her. I'm like, you just seem so likable.
Oh yeah, they're just having like a fun time.
Yeah, because it would be a fun time. I mean, imagine like us three putting on a horror movie marathon, and you're like, Patrick, you're working popcorn and like upselling things. Holly, you're working the ticket booth and bringing people in, and Stephanie, you're emceeing. Like, it would be amazing. It would be so fun.
I mean, first of all, Patrick, you'd be running the projector and all the special effects.
True.
And Holly would be upselling because that's exactly what she does, taking tickets and selling shit, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, you're spending money on a ticket. Hey, you're already spending money. Why not spend more money?
Exactly.
So each person in the film department eventually gets killed via the props and gimmicks throughout these movies. And one thing I really liked was the juxtaposition of people roaring and cheering watching the movie. And then it's, you know, synced up so well to the beat of people getting murdered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how they put a real sword for the mosquito nose on the mosquito prop because that's how easily it went through people.
Right. I know. I was like, what is that made from? Because like butter. Just whoop.
Yeah. It's the sharpest sword they could have found. Maybe a javelin from, you know, the sports teams.
You see it coming towards you, just, you know, roll out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toby stood there an awful long time just kind of looking at it.
That whole part, he could have just taken 2 steps to the side, and that thing would have still been exploding. And he wouldn't have been in that mess. I'm just saying. It took forever for that thing to finally just let loose and go.
Well, I mean, his whole lifelong plan had been ruined.
Okay, so you're talking about the end.
Yeah.
The end.
Not Mr. Davis getting stabbed by the mosquito. Which Mr. Davis gets stabbed by the mosquito. Spoilers. This thing is full of spoilers. So if you're listening to this, know that. But also, Mr. Davis could have moved. It was like 40 feet away, and he sees it speeding up at 40 miles an hour coming to him. He could just, you know.
I'm pretty sure it was traveling like 10 miles per hour.
You're right. I don't. Yeah, it was pretty sharp, so it didn't need to go that fast to stab him.
Oh, but those the electrified seats.
Ooh.
Oh my god, this whole thing, you know, little nod to William Castle, who did the whole, you know, bringing the movie to the audience. And going back to what Dr. M said about a movie, you're in these big cineplexes, but the movie screen is as small as a postage stamp. Meaning that you're not engaging the audience anywhere but in front of their eyes. Whereas he, and, alluding to William Castle too, engages the audience from the theater, and it becomes an immersive event. And I would love to go somewhere where they could do something like this, and especially those electrified seats, because that's my favorite thing. The Tingler is one of my favorite movies. And I just love that it's just everybody would just be sitting in their chairs, and all of a sudden, electricity. I love that. It's my favorite.
I'd be really scared about the liability of that.
No,
Yeah.
Disneyland does a 4D Bugs Life.
Ooh.
So you wear 3D glasses, you go in, you have smells. There's a part where there's bees, and the back of the seat has little stingers. I mean, they're not sharp, but they just poke you.
Oh, that's so fun.
There's a part where cockroaches run across the floor and they blow air
nope,
at your feet.
Nope.
Yeah, that was the scariest part, Stephanie. For sure. Reminded me of Mimic.
But I would like it if you don't know that it's coming, because you know that it's coming. You know it's a 4D thing. You're going to be immersed in it, but just not knowing that it's coming, that's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for the Alamo to, because I'm imagining those kids weren't real electricians, so just putting open wires under everyone's seat to electrocute them.
If not wires, then a very intense vibration.
Yeah. I was really interested in the machine that they used for the smells. What was it called in the movie?
Aroma. What was it?
Odor.
Aroma. No.
Aroma Rama.
Yeah, that
and Odorama.
Like that.
Yeah, but that machine, and it looked like they came in little hockey pucks that you just throw in something, and then it just throws out smoke. Yeah, that was really
dry
interesting.
ice. That's what they just thrown in there.
Yeah, that was so interesting.
And it comes billowing out of that tube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is not. It is not slow how much smoke that thing produces.
No, that was a lot. That was pretty intense.
Yeah.
I loved. Oh gosh, I know they showed a fair amount of the Mosquito movie, and they showed some of the Amazing Electrified Man. But I wanted more from the Stench. I wanted more scenes. I loved that they brought in the Japanese film with English dubs.
Yeah.
My nostrils, they burn.
Interesting that we were talking before about how the kills were being matched up with the movie that was being portrayed. Because when they brought out the Stench, that was the one that we got the least amount to see. You just get a couple lines, and it kind of struck me that his and then the girl, it just seemed kind of rushed, and I'm not going to take time, because the other ones, it felt like it took time, and you spent a lot more time. It felt very in line with the time that the movies were going on,
except Tina's death. That was just cool.
I love Tina's death.
It was one of my favorites.
Oh.
But it didn't line up with any of the movies.
Yeah.
It was just more that she's a harlot,
Yeah.
Yeah, when she's like, oh, your lip is peeling, and then they kiss, and then she pulls away from him. Oh.
I don't know if you guys ever seen anyone in real life with one of those latex masks that are put on not very well.
No.
It's terrifying because it doesn't if it's put on very well and it's glued on really well, then it moves with their face, but you can also still kind of tell it's not real.
It's so unsettling.
Yeah.
It's very unsettling.
And then you also, God, Mark is just the comedy goof. He's like, man, Tina needs to eat something. So he looks like shit.
I think that was my favorite line in the whole movie.
Before Leon dies in the bathroom explosion, we find out that Toby is actually the killer, and he was burned quite badly because his mom was in the film cult of Lanyard Gates. And he's having his classic villain freak out. I'm going to explain my master evil plan to you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. As every villain does.
Yep.
I mean, this guy was doing his best Jim Carrey impression. It was a combination of The Mask and Fire Marshal Bill.
You're crazy.
What? This just dawned on you? That's great. And I'm the one who's crazy. Can't say I've lost my sense of humor. Can you?
Toby, what are you going to do?
Here's my plan. I've thought it out with geometric logic. I'm going to recreate that showing of Possessor. Only this time, it's going exactly as planned. And maybe that way things will be different. Maybe then my mother won't die. And I won't be burned. And everything will be okay.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Tom Villard did such a good job at being a crazy ass villain.
Yeah.
My favorite character in the entire movie.
So, my favorite scene, after Leon gets killed, Toby, dressed as Leon, goes into the projection booth and Joni is like talking to who she thinks is Leon.
Anyway, I need to know. I mean, I'm walking around madly in love with this guy, and he just acts like I don't even exist. You're impartial. What's your opinion? Is he shy or what?
Look, I got my own problems. Just leave me alone, all right?
Men. Admit it, you fucked up.
And he runs out of the room.
Don't talk to me about love.
I was like, and then of course Joni goes, men. Sheesh. And then of course she then says, you know, I fucked it up, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, of course. Classic dude reaction when some girl's like being vulnerable, being like, I really love this person. And they're like, I can't face myself. I can't love myself. I'm just going to take all of my anger about myself and kill people.
You don't understand how many times a girl said that to me, and I just said, look, I got my own problems. All right? You just don't understand.
But the fact that he like runs out of the room is like...
He throws a little tantrum. I can't deal with this.
I'm really happy, though, that this part of the movie, because it came out of left field, this whole part, right? And I'm really happy they never dwelled on it.
Yeah.
And he just went back to killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they just brought in, he's like, I can't kill people because I'm loved, I would have fucking hated this movie.
Yeah, no, it was a funny little, okay, yeah, we got this little fun part, and then it just went right back.
I love the temper tantrum he throws, though.
But what I also loved is very soon after that, Mark ends up at Toby's apartment, which he clearly got the address from Joni, who's in love with him. Patrick, what did you think of the landlord?
I hope to and aspire to be him one day.
Are you a director? I'm an actor.
I know, the landlord's like, oh man, I gotta kill him. And what's even really funny...
He's some Ted Bundy type. He's got skulls in his pocket.
Even the landlord was like, I gotta kill you. Maybe that would make me feel a little better.
I used to have those glasses that the landlord was wearing. Maybe I am the landlord. One of my favorite parts of the movie, though, I shouldn't say favorite parts. One of the parts that I found really funny was right after that scene when he goes back to the movie theater and he just scales the fucking building. He's like he's Spider-Man, just like,
yeah, he like
I gotta get in.
Climbs the marquee, like...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, then Mark comes in and zip lines down to save the day.
Mark kind of reminded, I don't know if either of you watched Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of Steve.
Yeah.
Like, he starts out as this guy, it's like, oh, who the fuck are you? And then as it's like, oh, Mark. And then like Steve became the mom of their group.
Yeah.
Mark got that mom strength where it's like, like somebody that I love is in trouble. I'm going to get there and help them. And he's able to, scale the marquee, just like zip line down. He got that mom strength.
So Toby has his final moment where Aunt Suzanne is in a cast and he cast her in his like final scene with the gun.
A full body cast.
And Maggie was given some drugs and put into like a midsummer maiden outfit that's an Iron Maiden. And I love his like, you thought Iron Maiden was a metal band.
The greatest one-liner in movie history.
All of a sudden they, open up to the crowd and they're like, should I kill her? Should I kill her? Let's count down. And everyone's like, yeah, do it.
Did anyone else think it was weird that they started counting down from 30 as a group?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. I was like, tell me when it's 15 max.
Yeah,
15
absolutely. Max.
30 is a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, even like New Year's Eve, it's like 10.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. But you got to
we're
be
bringing
like,
in the new year.
I mean, I don't want to be like 22, 21, 20, 19.
Damn teens to go through.
You know how thirsty I'd be after that? No.
And then as he's like about to kill Maggie, Mark ziplines down and fucks up the zipline track so that the mosquito comes down and ultimately stabs Toby, who's gets stabbed, and he's like sitting there like, ah.
Yeah, he could have just stepped to the side.
Yeah.
And then kept his killing going.
And then
burned everyone alive.
Goes through like butter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Both endings would have been good for me, though. Him dying like that and then moving on, or him killing everyone. I would have been okay either way.
Yeah.
Because, those people are cheering on murder. They're just as guilty.
Oh, but that scene reminded me also of Interview with the Vampire. I always fuck that up. When they go to the theater and then they bring somebody on stage and then they, drain her. I was like, ooh, that reminds me of that, because the audience is involved, in Scream 2, which we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
The audience isn't involved. They just see this. They think it's part of it. They're cheering. But in both this and Interview with the Vampire, they're like involved and they're like, it's more interactive.
Should I do it?
Yeah, you're playing with the audience more. So I was thinking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this made me think of Cabin in the Woods, where at the end they're like, we're giving them what they want, You got to murder and kill.
Yeah.
But his death scene was so good. Getting impaled by the most dangerous prop ever made.
I know, that mosquito killed twice.
Yep.
Yeah. That's probably the real murderer of the movie. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's calculate how many people Toby killed and how many people the mosquito killed.
And are we also considering the mosquito in the movie Mosquito?
Oh.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, that mosquito took everything Mr. President had. The Coast Guard, the Navy, the Army, and then the A-bomb.
Yeah. The A-bomb. I love how they're like, we gotta use the A-bomb.
I really loved how the movie ended so succinctly. And then they cut to some really weird rap.
Classic.
I loved it.
Classic.
I loved it.
Not as good as The Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff with Nightmare on Elm Street.
True.
That rap.
Very true.
That was a really good rap.
It reminded me of Werewolf Bar Mitzvah from 30 Rock.
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of. The music in this movie was phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely amazing. It didn't work yet worked so well. I loved it.
I mean, this is like what makes that weird cusp of 80s, 90s movies, that weird cusp of 80s, 90s movies,
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, Patrick. Like, you're in a transition state, and they're like, let's throw in some reggae music.
Yeah.
Yeah, like at the end of the Addams Family. Why not have an Addams Family rap? Why not?
Yeah, why not? I totally forgot about that.
Any final thoughts before we rate this bad boy?
I have one thing that I want to point out that I'm always amused by, that I'm glad that they brought up. And I don't remember if it was said in both the Mosquito and the Amazing Electrified Man?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember if they said it in both, but definitely one of them where somebody was like, get Washington on the line. And I'm so amused. It's like they're able to just flip open a phone book and be like, Washington, let me call this number.
The state or the sovereign city?
Yeah. That just always amuses me because it's in those movies. It's like, oh no, get the president on the line. It's like, do you have the direct number to the president?
I wish in this movie, though, during the killings during the movie theater, they'd been like, get Spielberg on the line. Get someone on the line.
No, this is a really fun movie. I'm surprised I haven't heard of it before, and that I haven't heard horror fans really talk about it, because, okay, I should say a lot of what I seek out is based on what I hear other people talk about. Not to say that, it's like, oh, like I'm influenced by what they say. It's, just people that I respect. I respect their opinions. I haven't heard anybody like that talk about this movie before. And I'm kind of surprised, but I'm really, really glad that you brought this up and that we watched it. And because, yeah, Patrick, you said earlier you would watch this every year. Absolutely. I want to get a DVD. I want to get a good quality copy of this and put this in my rotation.
All right, so we're all going to chip in and get the $45 steel DVD Blu-ray situation.
Yeah.
It's so weird, like how big of a cult following this movie has.
Yes.
And I still haven't heard of it. Yeah, I'm just amazed that this doesn't have the status of like Sleepaway Camp or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? I mean, maybe because the only, it wasn't until 2017 when Synapse Films did a high-quality restoration of it.
You know what probably happened with this film? If this movie came out in anywhere between 82 and 88, it would have the following.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the timing that kind of killed this movie for it. Because the 90s, you start going into like whole different genres and different effects. I mean, we talked about Death Becomes Her.
Mm-hmm.
That movie had such good effects, like CGI. So you're starting to like get into this more CGI realm and kind of just different genres.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a bad timing for this film to come out. But man, what a tragedy. I'm sure it's loved by so many people in the cult following. For all three of us to be big movie fans and not even heard of this kind of blows my mind.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to rate this. Out of 5 masks, Patrick.
I'm not going to give it a perfect 5. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I almost gave it a 4, but if you haven't seen this movie is so much fun. It doesn't take itself serious at all. The story is not perfect, but it's a lot of fun. It's chaotic. It's crazy. The death scenes are not the most brutal, but they're funny and they're fun to watch. And if you love movies, this brings in so many little aspects from other films. It talks about other movies. It makes fun of other movies. It's a very enjoyable to watch, and I would recommend it to anyone. And like I said, I'm going to watch this probably once a year now. It's going to be in my October playlist.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what Patrick said. I think I was coming into this, I was going to give it a 4, but I'm going to give it a 4.5 officially, because talking with you both, it kind of amplified the fun that I had watching it while I was by myself. And I really wish for the first time, I saw this like in a better quality than I did. But it did not take away from what I saw. I just loved it. It was so, like what we were saying before, it seemed like there was a lot of heart put into this. And everybody just really enjoyed themselves. And I loved the nods to other movies and just like genres of movies and things that we hold very dear to ourselves. And it was so much fun. And like you said, Patrick, and I said before, this is going to go in my rotation. I want to watch this more. And I wish I would have known about it prior to this, but now that I know about it, it's going to become one of my personal classics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also will give it a 4.5. Super quickly made iron latex mask. 4.5 out of 5. The first time I watched it, I was like, wait, what? But then every other time I watched it, I heard something new. I saw something new, and it really is a horror comedy. It's a total homage to horror as a genre. And movies that came out after this, I felt a lot of Scream. I felt even some of the Saw, where you have the guy during the shocker moment place a tape and explains like how he's going to die and like how to prepare for it. It's a totally fun movie. It's a total popcorn movie. And sit back and enjoy. Oh,
I wanted to tell you guys, that tape recorder she has, I own a silver version of it.
Amazing.
No joke. I have a box of tapes with it too.
Patrick, I hope you like do stuff to your girlfriend and like tie her up and then put the tape recorder and you're like, this is the sequence of the lights that you're gonna, go off and electrocute you.
I only did one cool thing with this tape recorder. I recorded a really cryptic monologue and like cryptic noises. And I did a hike through Yosemite, and I put it in a plastic bag, and I buried it somewhere in the mountains.
Oh, I love you.
And I hope someone finds it one day. I have the exact coordinates of where it is. I saved it because I had a little GPS device with me.
It's amazing.
But I don't think anyone's ever going to find it.
Wow. Well, if anybody out there is listening and you happen to hike through Yosemite and you happen to go digging, and you happen to find a recorder, we have your answer.
It's about 40 miles north of Red Meadows on the John Muir Trail, so good luck.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Cinema.
Phantom. Yes, and if anybody out there has seen it, please share your thoughts. Please, please, please. Let us know, like, we're idiots for having not known about this sooner.
Just know I was a child, not even born yet when this movie came out, so go easy on me.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and the Facebook. And check out horrormelee.com. Shoot us an email at horrormelee@gmail.com and share your thoughts and holler at us, and we'll mention you on our next podcast.
We had theaters in those days, not like these cine, omni, multi, whatchamaplex things today, with 29 screens, the size of postage stamps. And we had fun. The ballyhoo, the giveaways, the bullshit. I could tell you stories. The point is, we put the butts in the seats where they belong. And they loved it. Now, what you guys got in your festival are turkeys. And not fresh turkeys either. But here I am, the master chef of showmanship, to teach you how to turn those withered turkeys into a memorable movie-going feast. So, step right up, and we'll all get started.
Well, Saturday night at 8 o'clock, I know where I'm gonna go.